Snerdley is saying you're not the least bit energized looking at the political consequences fall out of this. Now, that's a good question. And I submit that if you are energized by the political possibilities that ensue from this, that you need to get your head out of the 20th century and you need to stop looking at things in the conventional way. I hadn't intended to get into this now, but I'm going to mention it now, and I'll do it again later on in the broadcast when I had intended to. There's a great column today in the Wall Street Journal, and it's by one of our old favorite standbys, Daniel Henninger. And in its own self-contained universe, it's a great column. But it misses a huge point. The column, and I don't have it on top of the stack because it's down there lower where I did intend to have it here now, and I'm not going to start shuffling papers to find it, so I'll just do it off the top of my head. Get to the details later. In essence, Henninger chronicles all of the trouble the Democrat Party is in. How the mainstream Democrats and independents are abandoning them because the technocrats, meaning the elites, the self-proclaimed smartest in the room, are in charge of the Democrat Party, and they are ruining the Democrat Party. They just don't know it yet, but they are ruining the Democrat Party. They're creating them so much trouble, so many problems for themselves, and it's only a matter of time. And I've read it, and while, as I say, in its own silo, it is a brilliant piece, but it is 20 or 30 years behind the times. And let me take a time out. I will find it, and I'll give you some details of what I'm talking about, because folks, the idea that this is going to hurt the Democrats, it may, but that's the wrong way to look at this. Oh, man, there's going to really be some blowback. They don't know they're destroying themselves. They're destroying the Democrat Party. Well, don't forget now, there's a whole wing of the Democrat Party that doesn't care about winning or losing elections as the primary way they corrupt the country. They don't need to win elections to corrupt the country. Losing elections, not that big a deal to them. And that wing is running the Democrat Party right now, and they don't care about any of that. They got whipped in the 80s, didn't they? Yeah, man, that Democrat Party, Reagan, they had 2 landslide losses, they fell apart. Exactly right. And they lost again in 88, man. I mean, it was really 3 elections in a row. They got creamed. And then they lost in 2000, and they lost in 2002 in the midterms. The Democrats were in disarray like you can't believe. And they lost in 2004, and they lost in 2010. Oh, man, did they get shellacked in 2010. And they just lost in 2014. Really? And the Democrat Party is falling apart? Is that right? And they're in big trouble? Where are they in big trouble? They're not in any trouble. They're getting away with it, folks, is the bottom line. But if you're going to look at this, the problem is that if you look at this the way Mr. Henninger is and the way Mr. Snerdley's question indicates he might be, you think there's going to be fallout from this. There's going to be blowback. Well, there used to be. Elections used to change the direction the country was taking. But they don't anymore, and that's the big difference. And on that, I'll take a break, and I'll come back and elaborate. I had not intended to get here yet. By now, I intended to be into prosecutorial discretion. But Snerdley peppered me with this question. So that's what I mean. This program's improv. But don't worry. It's all going to happen. We're going to get it all in there. Just sit tight, hang in there, be tough, be right back. Very simply put, the Democrat Party screwing up, the Democrat Party losing support, does not mean the Democrat Party fails to advance its agenda. So here's Daniel Henninger's piece. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. I don't need to. It's, let's see, what's the titles on the second page? Obama the Hangover. And here's a, and again, it's a great piece in its own self-contained silo, but I think it's in a time capsule, and it's written from a a political view that has long since ceased to exist. The problem is not one MIT economist's arrogance. The problem is that the technocracy itself, the Democrat smartest guys in the world, the technocracy, the elites, the guys running the show, self-appointed. The problem is that technocracy itself has become a political problem for the Democratic Party. No, it hasn't. But let me continue. For some 80 years, that technocracy has been the life force of the Democrat Party. Now it's a kind of noxious green sludge consuming the party. Calling itself the administrative state, a technocratic army of social scientists, lawyers, and bureaucrats, has kept the Democrat Party supplied for decades with the policy details behind its promises to the electorate. Obamacare was going to be one more victory march into the end zone of federal entitlements with a playbook designed by John Gruber and the other grandchildren of the original administrative elites. And it goes on to detail how all of these things are falling apart, how they're all disasters, and how this is going to have dire consequences for the Democrat Party. And with all due respect, what I find missing in pieces like this is, despite cataloging the disaster that is befalling the Democrat Party, they are achieving lasting damage on this country, which to me makes the trouble they get into after an election here or an election there somewhat irrelevant. This is a way of looking at politics that's stuck back somewhere in the 20th century when voter reaction to events actually changed the direction of the country. Voter reaction is a term for elections. Now, you might disagree with me, but my perception is that elections are not changing the direction of the country much. Not Democrats losing elections. Let me address just that specifically. Democrats losing elections is not changing the country. They may lose an election here or there, and they may get in trouble here and there, but their agenda's marching on. The Democrats are losing support, eh? Yeah, right. They lost support in the 80s, big time. I mean, they lost 2 landslides, and then they lost in 88. And they lost support in 2000. And they lost support in 2002 in a surprise upset loss in the midterm elections. And they lost again in 2004. And they lost again in 2010, and they were in a mess after each one of these losses, remember? We got stories. Man, the Democrat Party is falling apart. Look how out of touch they are. The Democrat Party is in such dire straits. The old lions, the old liberal war horses are killing the... Whatever. We've read this piece before. I've read this piece for 30 years. And every morning when I get up, the Democrat agenda is a little further down the road. So the Democrat Party's losing support, eh? Well, show me how that's manifesting itself. Now, folks, do not go fatalistic on me. I'm not saying this to be fatalistic or even pessimistic. What I'm saying is that everybody's got to change their perspective on what's happening here. It's why I opened the program with, I can't believe what we're about to see here. We're actually going to watch a crime take place, and we're eagerly counting down the time, and we're all going to watch as the Constitution, BB guns aimed, holes are going to be fired right through it, and that's it. And then we're going to talk about, this is really bad for the Democrats. I can't believe how Obama's dead. You realize how ticked off people are going to be? Doesn't matter. The Constitution's still going to have holes in it tomorrow. Because nobody is stopping them. It used to be that elections stopped out-of-control parties and out-of-control politicians. They got the message. The Democrat Party doesn't care. Obama on down. They don't care what the electorate thinks. They don't care what the electorate does, as evidenced by what is going to happen tonight. They don't care. And until such time as somebody decides a way to stop them, this is going to keep on happening.